Siu, hola, halito, hello. I'm Gershon, and I want to talk about love. Aragayuri. When we're born, most of us are used to receiving, or not even used to, we come into the world receiving so much love and affection from our mothers, especially. And the family or friends, everybody wants to hold you. For many people, that is it's a given throughout your life, because we have people that actually care for us, and they always want to make sure that we know this. And the best way to know this is through the touch, hugs, kisses, whatnot. Some of us grow up and we become more detached because that isn't a consistent thing, and it becomes a conflict when you come across the people that are always used to having the consistency. And it's a work in progress for those that aren't used to it. Most of us, I can't really put a number on it, but at a certain age, when we're able to do for ourselves, the hugs and kisses and all that stuff actually slow down. And as we become teens, it's something that you reserve for the special relationships more so. And learning as guys grow up, guys are a little bit more detached. We don't generally hug all of our male friends. And as we are growing, a lot of times we end up more around male friends. So it's not you can't really speak generally. You can't really speak like everybody is the same way, but the women, the females or the feminine, we like to believe or think this way, that they're more affectionate, and that's not always true. And as we get into relationships, as we get older, expectations become more what we build our idea of love off of, and this is not really fair in most cases, because just because you are used to having a life that way doesn't mean that the one that you want to love you back has it that they offer it the same way. And then because these things come into play, they cause conflict. And some people mature differently. So when we come into relationships with people that we don't know, trust is the issue. So if you're not used to just giving hugs to anybody and everybody, when you meet somebody, even though you really feel a lot for them, it could be a challenge, because, well, there's that, well, should I or shouldn't I? Because there comes the trouble now with you have all these different expectations, but not just the expectations. You have people talking, not expecting, but thinking that you're going to go too far. If somebody's not comfortable with you, you put your arm around them. Now this could be considered sexual harassment. Of course, there's signs, and some of us aren't the best at reading these things, so some people become more detached because of this. And as we get older and older, it gets further and further away. Some people are always around other people, and those of us that aren't always around people, we spend most of our time in our heads, so we'll diffuse or pull back from what may be expected, and expectations is what causes the problems in relationships a lot of times. So the idea of love, everybody has a different concept of it, and we have to be aware of this. And because most of us, or some of us, aren't really the best at reading, and some of us don't really speak our feelings, that causes more of the issue. Love is a lot of different things, and everyone defines it differently. So if we're going to interact, we have to talk about these things, and some people have issues talking about their feelings. And that in itself causes conflict. Some people are showers, and if you have somebody that's in their head and you have somebody that's a shower, it you have to just get past the boundaries, and the boundaries are usually, it's about comfort and it's about trust, and some people aren't trusted until they've spent enough time, being there, because relationships come and go, and because they come and go so often in some people's lives, it's there's the question that goes around in my head. For instance, I'm always wondering, what is the reason? What are we here for? Is it just to fill it out and, oh, okay, well, no, that's not good. We go for a couple weeks, oh, this isn't going to work. But by that couple weeks, you get comfortable. And some people take a while to thaw out, whereas some people want to just jump right in, and this is what they're used to. They play the same way with every relationship, and that also causes conflict. When we think about love, besides those type of relationships, we'll talk about, say, because I was a professional skateboarder, people say, oh, I really respect and love. These are two concepts that actually always should be compatible. But they're again, people have different ideas of what respect or love is, or. So some people would just think that because they admire someone that they love them, and that's not true. Love is acceptance, and respect should be acceptance, but respect is usually built off of what can be seen. In my case, with skateboarding, people would respect or admire the skill, but how I think was secondary, because when I started, I didn't used to speak a lot, and I would just skate. So all these people would be like, oh, he's so good, he's great, he's like, oh, I love that, I love him, he's amazing. And people would say that they would support, people say that they support, but as I've found myself in interviews where there is no skateboarding involved, I get all these opinions about how I think. How I think was important when I wasn't speaking, but now it's kind of a nuisance that I'm not being projected from that aspect. And most of the people that are probably talking about this weren't there or didn't care back then. They just maybe knew the name, or I'm a name that's passed down through Big Brother or the people that they know. And so that is something that I have to consider, and I don't think that those that speak, they want to tell me about how they feel, how they think it comes from the thought more so than how they feel. But they want to tell me how they feel, but I come to realize that I question if it's respect or if it's really love, because if you can't accept that I have a brain, and my brain doesn't just focus on doing the thing that pleases you, thinking the way that pleases you, then you have a misguided concept of respect or love. You think that it's a one-sided thing. Like I said, respect is acceptance, or love is acceptance. This is how they can both be similar, very similar. Because if you really love someone, you will accept them, good and bad, because we're all flawed, and flawed is just a perspective. The idea of somebody just being different. We're all different, but some of us are a little bit more different because we don't spend as much time working on the social aspect of life. And how we socialize is different, because this is not a group thought, it's the individual thought. And when people that are more used to group thought kind of come in contact with the individual thought, sometimes there's clashes. So I spent a lot of time alone. I spent a lot of time thinking about how I feel, what I'm actually seeing You know, so like when I watch skateboarding, I recognize different aspects of the people's personality. I can't say that it's 100%, but I can tell that like some people are just as insecure as I have been, and I am in certain ways, but maybe we're different. Some people are a lot more outgoing, especially those that love the spotlight, the ones that thrive to be in the spotlight. It wasn't my intention to get where I got with skateboarding. I just was inspired, and there was people to film it, or people, if there's people to capture it and project it, and then project it, then that's how I came to be known. And it wasn't a choice that I consciously made. If somebody wanted to film something, sure, in the beginning. And towards the end, I would say no, because say in Germany at contests, a lot of the people that were capturing, filming, shooting photos and stuff like that, they wouldn't ask. They would, and a lot of them would be in the way when we're trying to practice for contests. And I found myself at times telling people, yelling at people, "Get out of the way," because I'm trying to get this trick, and you're just trying to get that photo of this guy, and it's like 5 guys on the pyramid, for instance, trying to go over the hip, and they're not even considering that. So they don't accept the fact that, well, we're supposed to be out there doing something, and what they want, how they think, that's more important than those that they're the subject. Not to say that it wasn't. Not to say that that situation was about me, but there's situations where people would ask me if I wanted to film. I wouldn't be in the mood, so I wouldn't do it. So I would get negative. I've caught people saying things, or like the people comment on more so now. They'll comment on things, bringing up the past, where the past, that was just a moment in time, and it didn't matter to me as much as it probably mattered to them. And probably what it was is they were some of the things that people get sensitive about is more monetary based. So these filmers, photographers, they're out there trying to get it like that. We're trying to get it. We're trying to get to the point of why we're even there, why we're even subjected. And so people base emotion on monetary, the financials. And they don't really, if you were to call them out for that, they'll try to act like that's not the issue, but that is. It has been, and that's why some people will act like their emotion that they don't like somebody. But if you don't know somebody, how can you really say whether you like them or not? I was just talking about the just not what is fear, or what is weird. These concepts, like it's the unknown. If you don't know how somebody is, then if you're not used to them used to being around people that are different, you'll say that they're weird, or you'll make place your opinion so that you can disregard their feelings, like your feelings are more important. But who is the subject again? That's one of the things when I go back to respect, and then deeper with love. People say they love skateboarding, but if skateboarding only matters because it entertains you, or mostly is based on entertainment. If that's the only reason it matters, then does anybody really matter beyond them entertaining you? So if you really think deep, and that's for somebody to just take to themselves, it's not a question to be answered out loud. If it's all about you, then that isn't love or respect. That's just, you just want to be entertained. That's a spoiled concept. And hey, be that as it may, of course, many of us, we recognize that's what we're out there doing. We're actually entertaining people, and this is why some of us got paid or get paid, and that's okay. That's just a part of the whole situation, but it has to be recognized by the people that, the spectator or whoever with their opinions, they have to recognize that What makes you so important that you have to actually project your opinion? If you didn't step up and do something, then why is it so important that you need to try to bring it to somebody? Because, love, respect, no, it's not. All it is your insecurities being projected. So, do you really love yourself is the question. Because if you really loved yourself, then you would think about other people. Because what are we without everyone else? If we're alone, then life would be what? A lot of people are depressed when they're alone. And that's what I was talking about with having the time. Everybody needs the time by themselves to recognize who they are. But if you don't spend enough time alone, then when you are alone, you will find yourself in a negative mood because it's not normal for you. And if it's not normal for you, you definitely don't love that. But you'll find the more that you get used to taking that time for yourself, the more that you'll fix what you don't love about yourself. But I think it's just the society mostly, since we were brought into the world, since we were born, we're given the attention, and then the attention goes away. And then you realize these other people are getting attention, you start to pay attention, jealousy sets in, and whatever other emotions that we want to pretend mean something. But ultimately, there's something that we're all worth, and we all have to recognize our own worth and stop trying to project our feelings onto other people. If you really love, then you'll recognize what it truly is. You'll love yourself, and then you'll be able to accept other people, and whether their opinions are something you like or something you don't like, you can accept it and you can move on instead of getting caught up in it. It's like talking about bigots and stuff like that. Everyone at some point is a bigot, because how do you know the difference between, how do you know what love is without having gone to the depths of feeling like, I hate that? There has to be a contrast. But when you recognize it's basically the same emotion, it's just it's just negative and positive. It's the yin and yang. And when you realize this, you can learn to accept and respect it. Because without the bigots, then I would have taken more of the love for granted. And when I realized that, wow, somebody doesn't like me because of the skin that I was born in. And it's not that they don't like me. Maybe they're actually envious of the skin that I was born in. Because, this is one of the things when you really get to talk to some of the bigots, some of them were raised like pit bulls, or dogs that are pitted against each other. They are handled harshly by their own first, and then told, because this was told to me when I grew up in Compton. I'm back in Compton. But when I was younger, I was told to watch out for white people. But, I'm not black. You can see I'm brown. And the people that are called white are actually, they're a paler brown, but we're all shades of brown. And I came to realize that some of the people, before I even left home, I realized what I didn't like, and I wasn't subjected to a paler skin. I mean, we have different shades amongst ourselves, this far side of the spectrum. However, it's not about the skin; it's about the thoughts within the head, each of us. And some people do terrible things, and it has nothing to do with the skin. It starts within. When we hate or love or any of that, it starts within. Neglect turns to hate. When people feel like they're neglected, they feel like they're unloved, then either you take it one way or the other. Either you go out into the world and you try to show as much love as you can, but then a lot of times you'll get bashed down, and then it will turn sour. So then you start to project that. Or some people start with the negative, going into the world with a sour face, and then they come across people that go, hey, what's so bad about this? What's the problem? what the problem is. You know, they'll break that ice and have you realize that it's not everyone. Not everyone feels the way that you think they do. Like, not everybody, the intent of everyone is not malicious. Most people, especially those people, they have to love somebody because, like I said, this side or that side. But in order to recognize one side, you have to know the other, or be aware of the other. So a lot of the bigots are trying to defend, or think that they're trying to defend their side, which, like I said, before I even got to see the other side, there was more, I saw the negative here. So when I got over there, it's content of character. It's the content of character, it's not the skin, because the skin is nothing. And then when we're talking this black and white stuff, that's even more ridiculous because none of us are either. Those are tints or shades. So gauging what you love or hate off of that is ridiculous, and that's not respectful even to that which you love, because what love is acceptance, and you don't have to defend that. And when people get caught up in the worldly things, and that's mostly, we're subjected to capitalism. Capitalism really is the cause of this issue. You know, the brings out the hate because, well, and it's either me or you, or us against them. And in order for it to be that way, there has to be something at play, and that's what capitalism really does to us. And when we were born and held and loved, it had nothing to do with that, unless we were capitalizing. As we got older, we started to capitalize on the hugs, you know. And funny thing is that the youngest capitalist would charge his mother for a kiss. So if you ever got that way, you started thinking that, well, in order for you to get this from me, how did that come about? It was probably brought to you by the world. It was you became subject, and then you started thinking of worth. But worth is we did gauge worth off of love, or of the lack thereof. But it's not really so much that. It's just a recognition of the differences in people and their perspective on this topic. Most people only know how to be a certain way, and that certain way doesn't, you know, they don't really adjust it. So if you don't adjust it, then it's harder to interact with other people that do adjust it. So love and acceptance, respect, and so forth and so on, it's a work in progress. And when we come into the world, we have to learn that there's all these different perspectives, ideas, concepts that have to deal with this one really love, this one topic. So I think it's one of those things that we, as a whole, when we start to really get to the point to where we deal with this, each of us deal with it, you know, internally, then we're going to have conflict. And the conflict doesn't mean that everything has to end. However, there's certain things that will happen between people, and that will make it harder for people to actually transcend that. So I think that for the younger people that may hear this, you should consider, when you don't feel good about something, you should consider what you say or don't, or maybe it's better to not say something, because you'll regret it. Because some people that may not speak to you, it's not that they don't like you, it's that maybe they're adjusting. And I think it's something that should be considered, but we're not told, and we don't know. We don't, even to this day, I don't know everything, and I never will. I'll go to my grave, and there'll be a lot of things that I'll miss out on. Or maybe I didn't miss out on it. I just didn't didn't get to have that subject come into play. But this is just a thought, and I don't know. I'll probably elaborate deeper on it later. But I think that's good for now. Så, oss du